Yeah.
Don't touch the mic. Don't touch the table.
Put your hands like some.
Sit on your hands.
No,
We are so cozy this
when
morning.
I touch,
Are
when
we
I
live?
move the mic,
We're
we
live.
are.
We're live.
When I move the mic, it helps us and it helps our sound, right? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Good morning,
No, we're
everyone.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome.
We're here with Juice, Fresh Talk.
We just keep
At
growing.
Cindy.
We just keep growing.
Got a new friend, Chris Proya.
Hello.
Those of
Everybody
you-
wants to be on the juice.
Yeah. Those of you who are
Okay.
following us here at Big Mouth Media know that he is the host of Universal Basic Podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Why'd you come today?
I had
It was
day
a
off of
pleasant
work, so
surprise
I
for
figured
me.
I'd drop in, yeah.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise for me, but
And you
we
all-
making it work.
You all can drop in too and see us here at Seed and Bean Market in
Yes.
Fort Myers.
Yes, welcome to the Juice Podcast. Welcome back. I am Chantel. Sitting to my right is,
Dr. Cindy Banyai.
and to my left,
Sarah Wilson.
and behind me.
Christopher Proya.
Welcome, Christopher. Welcome everybody
Yes.
back. We look at this. Viewers,
We're literally
pouring-
like sitting on each other's
look at
laps to
viewers.
get to this microphone.
Viewers pouring in already. Look
Good
at
Oh,
morning.
yeah,
that.
let me make sure we can get our
Yeah,
chat.
we gotta get
here.
our chat
Wow.
going.
Oh,
Yeah,
comments. It's
because
not
you guys
chat,
have
comments.
to tell us
Oh, I
us
got
about
that
this
old
sound.
fundraising thing though, but you could still give us money if you want.
Yeah,
Just go to bigmouthmediafl.com and get your subscription.
what
All
we're trying to
right.
do here is get a little set up to where we don't have to sit on each other's laps.
Yeah, because literally I got one leg on each person
Although,
just to try to,
I feel the love this way.
I do
feel
too.
the love just radiating amongst all of us.
Man, and after this week, we need some love.
yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Wait, what's going on this week? Where we?
Oh,
Chantel,
man.
quit acting like
I
you
mean,
don't
I know a little something. I know your former president was arraigned and arrested and but released with power or
Well, I mean, that's how it goes, right?
Yeah. If you have money, that's how it goes.
Right, if you can make bail.
Right. Which he does.
But those are actually in New York State, not offenses that they ask for bail for anyway, because they have
Yeah.
bail reform in New York.
Picture that.
So they're not keeping people in prison while they're waiting for trial.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what are we likely to see in the upcoming weeks?
Jack shit. I mean, lots of political and legal maneuvers.
Okay.
Right.
But so there is anticipation that the Fulton County, Georgia grand jury will, come out with an indictment. Still waiting on whether or not Jack Smith in the Department of Justice is going to have an indictment related to the Mar-a-Lago documents
Right.
and or the January 6th
Right.
insurrection.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think it's important that we kind of let people know a little bit about these charges. So he was charged 34 felonies, right?
Right.
Chantel,
No,
it's
don't
like
touch it.
killing
You need
her.
it.
It's killing her. Can
Don't
you
touch
all hear me? Let us know if you can hear
That's
me.
what I'm saying. Let us know.
But 34 felony charges, and how they were able to up them to a felony charges because they were covering up another crime, albeit federal. So there will likely be a move by Trump's legal team to take it to a federal judge and ask for a dismissal on the basis that it is actually federal charges. So that
There's actually a state charge that they are considering as well. So we don't actually know. So the indictment doesn't lay out all of the legal strategy, but it's not necessarily related to the federal charge.
Right.
But they're actually anticipating that it might be kicked down to a misdemeanor rather than a felony.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see. But I mean, there's been a lot of talk and narrative pushing on these charges. They are serious charges.
Sure.
They're serious charges. And the thing is that each charge carries a maximum of 4 years in prison, which could equate to 136 years in prison. Is that going to happen? Not likely.
Right.
Much of what I'm hearing is that's far from likely.
All I want to know is what is a perfect phone call? Like, have you
Girl.
all ever had a perfect phone call? Like, I
No.
really want to
The
know.
perfect phone call is the one that goes to voicemail.
Do you ever get off
Yeah.
the phone and think that was a perfect phone call?
Sometimes I
usually
do.
rate
When I
mine
talk
from
to
1
you,
10.
I think that was a perfect phone call.
Aw.
Yeah, so I can see what Trump meant,
But
and
I heard the phone call. It
therefore
didn't
that's
sound
not
like
a
our
lie.
conversation.
I'm a little deaf, so in my opinion, a perfect phone call is my voicemail saying, hang up and text me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's Trump land. This is going to be
Right.
ongoing for years.
Yeah.
He is a little scared though, because I don't know if you guys heard that there's an additional witness that he didn't know about. So initially they thought it was just going to be Cohen, which he has obvious reasons to testify against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
However, David Pecker came up in all of this. David Pecker was the publisher for the National Enquirer. So what Trump is shaking in his boots over is that a lot of other things could come out in the process of this trial that he doesn't want to come out because David Pecker will be one of the state's witnesses.
And let's talk about that. Okay, so the strategy that Trump has used, even prior to him being president, was he would use the National Enquirer and bury stories. So what they do, and actually that's what this was under the guise of, the Stormy Daniels payoff, blah, 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 was essentially to pay her to buy the story as if they were going to publish it through the National Enquirer and then not publish it.
Right.
And this is something that, Trump has done, extremely wealthy people do, and the National Enquirer itself has done to make sure that these stories never see the light of day if they could potentially harm somebody who's in his orbit.
Right.
So anyway, that's what's going on in Trump
But
world.
last night we were stormed and flooded yesterday evening with images of the Tennessee legislature kicking out, expelling 2 legislatures. Tell us about that, because I've never heard of these 2 legislators, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones. It's the attack on the Justins, and I don't know what it is.
And actually, Justin Jones was hit by a Republican Justin in the face.
When he was
That was
protesting gun laws?
Yeah. He's got an assault claim against another Justin.
Wow,
A lot
there's
of
too
Justin.
much going on.
Justins
No,
in Nashville.
yeah, we need to look
It was
into
popular in Tennessee about 25, 30 years ago, apparently.
that. But let's talk about it. So, both Justins decided to protest gun laws.
Right.
And the Tennessee state legislature said, no, this is too much, right?
Mhm.
So what has that happened
So no,
ever in life?
apparently, so there has not been a member expelled. I think there's only been 2 members expelled from the Tennessee legislature in the history of the legislature. One was in the 1800s, and then the other was in the 1980s.
Yo,
Somebody who was under
1800s.
indictment
Taking it
for
way back.
25 counts
they
of
had to
sexual
ride
assault.
off on a
So
horse
it was this
when
was
they left.
yeah, this has been a long time. And
Didn't even hear that.
say that out loud.
No, I was saying in the 1800s they had to ride out on a horse when they got expelled, right?
I'm sure
Yes.
they did. 'Cause
Yeah.
there wasn't any car.
No Teslas and stuff. So yeah,
Imagine trying to ride off
like pissed off. And imagine your horse won't
Just
go.
gotta like whip it like this.
The horse like tired and don't want to go yet, and you got embarrassed because you're trying to storm off, and the horse won't go.
It could also really up your game. Imagine you like spinning out on your
Yeah,
horse,
and
your
then
horse kicks.
dust is flying everywhere. That's pretty badass.
Yeah,
but
that
no
is.
cameras to catch it. So, damn,
So what's the point?
Yeah, it's like
What's even
cool
the point?
moments happening and no internet to share.
Yeah.
but no,
Sorry,
get back
Cindy.
to
So,
the
okay,
seriousness
so what happened
of
in
it.
Tennessee, the Tennessee 3, as they're being called. So there were 3 legislatures, including Gloria Johnson, who actually joined the protesters. So there were thousands of protesters that came to protest the state legislature as they convened because they were upset about the Covenant school shooting. They wanted more gun reform in the state so that school shootings end, right?
Right,
And
right.
it was very impassioned. You had students had joined the protests on Monday. You had teachers, families, mothers, thousands and thousands of people. And they just were ignored, essentially. So that's why these 3 legislators took up their cause, and actually Justin Jones, I believe, grabbed a megaphone and actually was joining the chants with them.
Now, what are the
And that
rules
was the
against
rule.
that? What's the rule against? What's the official rule against a congressman or a senator joining a protest?
I mean, there isn't. This is First Amendment. I mean, so
They
anybody.
But you
hurt their
remember,
feelings, you
no,
know,
no, no,
and-
no, no, no. But remember when Maxine Waters, she was coming under fire for joining in on a protest because they were saying it could potentially influence the public's decision seeing her. I don't know, like
Well, every legislative
Something
body has their
happened.
own rules, traditions, procedures, all of that. So I'm not 100% sure what Tennessee's rules and procedures are for their legislators.
Right.
However, the main problem with all of this is your representatives are the most democratic elected officials
Right.
at the state and federal level because they are voted by or elected by popular vote of the
Mhm.
people. So they are truly like senators, they're not a proportional vote. You know
Right.
what I mean? So this is that specific district's will. So what you're doing is when you expel somebody is you're basically silencing the voter.
Right.
wow.
So
So what happens now? Do they hold a special election,
They may and they could run again.
or that same person can that be reversed?
I don't
That
know.
expulsion.
I don't know. So they were up for expulsion for breaking the decorum of the legislature. And that was joining the protest, using the megaphone. I think the megaphone was the one that really got everybody. And they admitted, yes, we did this, but
But somebody said there was a
kind of
member.
like a big deal.
Somebody said there was a member of that body that pissed on a seat on another legislator's seat, and that there were child molesters, convicted child molesters,
Yeah, admitted child molesters,
admitted or convicted.
admitted.
Somebody
So how you
admitted that?
admitted and ain't convicted?
Yeah, there was a guy who
make
uh,
that make
Representative Byrd, who was a basketball coach for high school girls, who had, I think he lost his job as a high school basketball coach because he was, having sexual relations with the girls. And he admitted to this. He wasn't criminally charged for it, but he admitted, and even there was tape of him laughing about using his position
and
to
he's still
have access to underage
sitting
girls.
in his seat, but let somebody speak out against gun control and with a megaphone, because had he not had that, maybe he would still be there,
Well,
right?
did the other two have megaphones?
There was one megaphone and it was joining in. I don't know.
So they need to find out who had
We
the
need to get to
megaphone.
the bottom of this because what I find to be very interesting about this story is that the two Justins, who are
Who are
both-
black men.
both black
Mhm.
males, were the ones expelled of the three that were up for expulsion. The white lady made it
through by one vote.
But wait, why was she up for expulsion?
Same reason, right?
Yeah, she
Oh,
was
for
there with
protesting?
them. Yep.
She even said that they interviewed, I forget her name right now, but they interviewed that white lady, and she said that it's very simple why I made it through and the other two didn't. Just look at
At
the
least
color
she's
of our skin.
speaking. At least she's
Exactly.
speaking
Yep.
out.
Gloria Johnson.
Shout out to Gloria Johnson this morning and the Justins, of course.
I have to say, and then there comes that like, would you, because they were expelled, would you step down too in solidarity, or would you stay? Or
Ooh, that's a question.
but you also have the
You-
flip side of that where you're letting down the people because
Right.
at least they have one fighter in there for them.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I wonder what she will do.
But if there's a special election, they could run again, and this
I
will
don't know.
and they'll be
this will likely bolster their political career because they're
Wow.
making
Oh,
national
definitely,
news.
definitely.
So,
I think Van
they might
Jones
be-
said that you just turned them into legends
right.
by
Superstar,
doing
yeah.
this.
And
Yeah, I heard this speech by Justin Jones, who I believe on Twitter is at Brother Jones. If
right.
you want to follow him, it was
him.
like a civil rights era speech.
It felt like
It
it.
was
adore
like
The other Justin had the afro. I'm like, where were these? Where they been all this time? You know.
I'm in
I think they're
Tennessee.
younger too. I mean, so they're
Mhm.
coming into politics,
Yeah.
Yes,
but speaking with this passion,
definitely.
to continue to fight and highlight these injustices.
Yeah,
Frankly.
you can hear the conviction in their voices,
Yeah.
both of them. It's not for show, and they're serious about it. And wow, we made history yesterday. So yeah, what's going on with Florida? Let's chill on Tennessee for a while. What's going on with Florida? You know, because you be with Florida.
I mean, it seems to me like Tennessee is actually copying Florida's thing here because if Ron DeSantis got rid of that lawyer and the
Right.
court said that was wrong, but there's no process to reinstate this lawyer, so therefore he can't be reinstated. It seems like Tennessee is trying to follow that example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
Florida's setting the stage for the whole nation. I mean, Ron DeSantis is really doing the most, and other very
Everybody's
radical states are
following. Yeah.
suit. I mean, they're not.
How does that feel to be the leader? The spotlight is on us.
The leader of the secessionist movement. I think it's pretty shitty.
Yeah, I'm not liking that kind of example at all.
Yeah, I'm not feeling very good about it. I'm not feeling very happy to live in an authoritarian state. Another thing that happened yesterday, we don't have to get too in depth on it, but one of our other hosts here on Big Mouth Media, Rebecca Jones, her son was arrested and taken into custody. And this is part of a long, ongoing battle with Ron DeSantis ever since she became a COVID whistleblower.
But because I know Nikki Fried was recently arrested too.
Nikki Fried was arrested too.
But was he arrested for protesting?
No, he was arrested purportedly for what they described as digital terrorism.
What?
And he had shared some memes related to shootings and school shootings. And this was over a month ago, to which he was actually taken into for care, mental health care, removed from the school. And yesterday they decided to arrest him and put his name out and put his photo out and charge him with a felony.
Is he a juvenile?
He's 13.
Oh, wow.
I have such an issue with, I don't know the full story. I know what you've told me, which we didn't have much time to talk about it. But in any case, I have a huge problem with juveniles being put out there like that. Any juvenile. And that's a major issue. And making these charges known, and also treating juveniles as if they are adults in the criminal justice system. So that in and of itself, I think is problematic.
Well, I posted something recently, like a Scared Straight program. Some people swear by it. And some people feel like it traumatizes kids. Cindy, you were supposed to do the research on that to collect data. What happened?
I was supposed to research?
You were.
No, I said I would love to see the research that it works.
And I thought that meant you was going to look it up.
Here's the thing. Well, I know it doesn't. So that's why I was.
You know it doesn't work?
It doesn't work?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't
work.
It doesn't work. The DARE program didn't work. None of these programs that are these
somebody
programs,
was helped by those programs.
It doesn't mean that it works writ large. It doesn't mean that it has broader negative consequences.
It's all fight or flight.
Why
If
you
you're
think
gonna
you
sit
like
there and
the? You
yell-
like
No,
the
don't
straight?
start
I'm
this
just
with
asking.
me.
I'm
Yeah.
asking.
I just didn't
I
know
didn't
how
say.
people felt about
Chris
it.
had a good point.
It's all fight or flight. If you're
Yeah,
gonna sit
that's
there and
what
yell
I
at
feel.
somebody and say you better do it this way, the person that's sitting there scared is gonna be like, okay, but as soon as he turns around,
I
goes
don't know.
back
I
to his
feel
old
like
thing,
some
yeah.
people can say, wow, if this is how it is in here, let me change my life. I heard the reviews. People were saying this has changed my life. But listen, I don't know.
That's probably possible for some. For some that have, I think it depends on the life, because here's my biggest issue with our criminal justice system is that we don't ever address the root causes of crime. So you can
Which
band-aid
is
it.
poverty,
Lack of education,
Trauma-informed care.
trauma, all of that, mental health issues that
Right.
we don't address in this nation.
Substance abuse,
We have all of this,
child abuse.
all of this data to show that punishment really isn't even a
Doesn't work,
solution.
yeah.
In fact, people pick up on more criminal activity after being incarcerated. So, and the recidivism rates are astronomical. So why don't we do what works rather than locking people up on a regular basis, including children?
Right.
And the reason why we don't is because we've made big business out of prison.
Right.
Right.
So,
we privatize
So
it.
much
but that's a
money in
whole
prison,
2 hour long.
that's a whole
conversation.
situation.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like these people who are like, well, my mama whooped me and I'm fine. But it's like,
Yeah, and
Are
I
you
heard,
really
I heard a nurturing parenting class that I took through my job. The teacher was excellent because she said, you didn't turn out fine because you were beat or spanked or whooped. You turned out fine in spite of being whipped
Right.
or spanked. And it's a tough conversation because discipline is something that is definitely needed in the world. And then it's like as soon as kids get arrested, the first thing people say is parents need to stop letting kids do this. Parents need to get a grip. Parents need to. So I can definitely see both sides of that situation, though. It's just a hell of a.
But I think that just about everybody can agree that
I think it's a hell of-
should not be putting juveniles.
hell of a position to be in.
Yeah, it is too. So like there was actually a case here in Lee County where there was a 12-year-old boy, a middle school student, who allegedly made some threats, and they went to his school and they perp walked this kid.
They did.
And they
it
put
turns
his face
out that he had autism,
Right.
and the situation wasn't even as they put it out initially.
Right.
And the Lee County Sheriff, they took his photograph down, they took the story down, but the damage had already
The damage
been
was already done.
And what I heard is that because the local attorney, our friend Malcolm, was thinking about assisting that family, but they ultimately felt like the sheriff department was too big to go after.
Right.
And that because they had so
bad,
much
too.
money to fight in court, and that it just leaves people feeling defenseless, violated, defenseless, helpless. So shout out to everyone out there fighting for justice. The up and coming JD here with us today.
Yeah. I will go on record right now to say that I am wholeheartedly against the reality TV showization of our Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Oh,
Right.
girl.
The
I can't even.
TikToks, there's so many civil rights violations just on the social media pages from the Lee County Sheriff. It makes me gag. And again, yeah, they're huge. They have money, and who as a regular person has the ability to fight them? I mean, there was the one that really set me off was where they had this thing called the Rook. It was this tiny little tank thing with the long thing on the front. They bashed through a man's door. He was having a mental health issue.
Oh man.
You could tell he already was having a mental health issue because everybody in the neighborhood was mad about because he had like what they called an ongoing rummage sale. He was like selling shit out of his front yard and whatever. But he then had a break, run around the neighborhood naked, trying to kill himself, and then barricaded himself in his home. This is when the Lee County Sheriff decided to take the Rook after this whole standoff and bash through the door and get him. They took that video and put it to music on their TikTok to show their cool toy and how awesome they are.
Wow.
And it was just so wildly inappropriate for me. Like, you don't know the circumstance, and whatever
Do
happened
you think
to
do you think the TikToks and everything and Marcino Motel and everything?
Yeah.
Do you think that is really like helping to stop crime? Because
Hell no.
No.
It's just basically it's trying to
well, damn.
make the fascist
I mean, y'all
movement-
said it in unison, like.
What it is, it's a representation of
Yeah, it's-
everything that's wrong with the criminal justice system.
It's
Right.
just
It
a way
is
to
that in a
advertise
picture.
their fascist takeover
Right.
Well,
and
and
make
the-
it seem cool, like Cindy said. And
Yeah.
The
you know,
arrogance
oh,
and
this
the
is
tough
what's
guy
okay
thing.
now.
Yeah, the arrogance and the tough guy. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of these gross patronage networks that exist in developing countries. So I did my doctoral work in the Philippines, and this is exactly what it's like. You slap your face on it so everybody knows who did that. So when they come around begging for money and for a vote, you know who did it. And that's what this is about. This is not about keeping Lee County safe or all this other kind of stuff. It's about promoting Carmine Marcino and his image for what he wants to do next. I've heard whispers that he wants to run for governor, and he's positioning himself
God.
to do that
Yeah.
using our taxpayer dollars,
Right,
by the way,
using
and
our dollars.
using our public funds to do bullshit things like TikTok, the Marcino Motel, the fucking ice cream truck, the goddamn half the
What
Edison
happened
Light
with the
Parade
ice cream truck?
was
Wait, what?
half the Edison Light Parade was this fucking sheriff. Like, give me a break. How many fucking boats does he need?
You know what it's giving? It's giving little man syndrome.
Oh, that's a whole other thing.
And I'm not talking about his height.
If you want to have
Yeah,
more
I'm
information about
ashamed.
that, you should go and listen to my podcast with Deanna Williams.
What is going on there?
What?
Deanna
What?
Williams, does anybody remember?
No.
Well, because he's run her out of the state too. That's what happens when you have fascists take over. Deanna Williams, you may remember, is the woman who had a relationship with Carmine Marcino and became pregnant, and then he tried to force her into having an abortion.
What?
And
An
she
abortion?
wouldn't. Yes. And then she ended up losing the child, but then she and his mafioso network ended up harassing her children, harassing her family. Carmine's family was harassing hers.
And now she got a podcast?
No, she was on my podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she's been collecting predatory stories from other women with the same kind of thing, because she was actually a crime victim, and that's how he had met her, and that is unethical and illegal. to engage in a sexual relationship with somebody who comes to your office to seek assistance. But essentially, she wasn't able to get a lot of ground. She's going through legal proceedings for years and years on end, but hasn't been able to make much out of it because you're fighting against the system, and that's tough.
Listen, the one thing that really irritates me about the whole sheriff's department thing is that Fort Myers Police Department, and I'm not a huge fan of the policing system, period, but the Fort Myers Police Department has done a really good job of cleaning things up. And they have worked with the community really well, as Chantel has mentioned many times before.
People really feel warmly toward FMPD. Like,
and that's a change.
Yeah, they a lot of people speak highly of Fort Myers Police Department, including myself. And I think they've done a good job with just trying to be engaging. They are sensitive. They do post, like I think sometimes they have posted like a juvenile's picture on their website or something, but I don't know. I just feel like they are trying to do things in a more appropriate way, a more civilized way.
Actually, we had a great conversation about this with Mayor Kevin Anderson. Right. So if you go back to was like the second or third episode of Juice, and you can see that conversation we had with Mayor Anderson about this, where he actually wanted more reforms and was hoping to get the DOJ actually to come in instead of the Free report, which is this whole other thing. And the Frees, by the way, are Russian foreign agents. Louis Free is, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah. Cuts
Don't
deep,
bring
baby.
my family into
Cuts
this.
deep.
Don't bring my
these are
crew
facts
into this.
So so just
Y'all
wondering
know,
how that guy
Cindy
got
think
in
I'm
here.
working for the Russians.
No, I just think that the Russians are trying to get
think that.
her. No, they're trying to get you, Bill.
Russians ain't even thinking about what.
All right, we'll get in on that. All right, so that's probably enough on policing.
Yeah. Basically,
There'll be
bottom
plenty
line,
more bashing
Fort
later.
Myers, I think, has been voted one of the safest cities. And Fort Myers PD is not out here doing the most like the sheriff's department. So it's not even effective what you're doing, sheriff's department. Get out of here. Okay, so end of that. Did y'all see Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes?
Oh,
No,
where she was riding in the car? Where she was
No,
riding in
this
the
is
car?
that
I did see
interview.
that. She got her ass kicked out of New York City.
Yeah, I saw that.
But that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about. She had a 60-minute interview. It was like a 15-minute segment on 60 Minutes. And I have to be honest with you. I'm glad I watched it because, so often, and you and I talk about this a lot. So often we us snowflake liberals often fail to see the humanity in other people. And I think it's important that even in our political opposition, that we find the humanity in them to kind of gain an understanding of where they're coming
Yes,
So where's
that's
Marjorie
what I've
Taylor
been
Greene's
saying.
humanity?
That's what I've
Where
been
is
saying
it?
all
in
the
this
time.
interview.
Give me 5 minutes with her and I'll find it.
No, even in the
We'll
interview,
unpack.
you could see a sliver of it coming through. You could see her
Yes.
nervousness, and
And
when,
we
You
all
can see the
have
seams
it.
from her lizard suit.
now
Really
listen,
not.
I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene when it comes to her rhetoric or her policy, but all of that comes from somewhere. And I watched her as I forget the interviewer's name, but she was saying like, you've been called this, you've been called this, and she goes through a litany of insults. You've been called a moron, an idiot, like all of these insults. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, you could totally see she was like, it was like welting up in her. And but then she said, I don't care. I don't listen to any of that. So it's like, but you could see
People
that in
don't
her.
know
That
how to be
affects
vulnerable.
people.
That's why I say give me 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes with
I'm
Marjorie
not
Taylor
good with
Greene.
vulnerability, but I'm just saying, like, for a moment, you could see that she is. I mean, how could you not be? I don't care how.
I see it
much,
all the time. I see it all the time, despite the rhetoric, despite everything. Like some stuff, you just like, wow, that's how you and a lot of other people really feel, But I always see through. You can just.
Yeah, and I think typically
You just have to know it's there, Cindy. And we were talking
Right.
about this the other day because I told Sarah, I said, Cindy thinks this political power is the highest power that there is. And I'm like, there's something out there. And Sarah was telling me how she believes in God and there's something out there controlling everything. It was a good conversation, but there's a power called love.
political power is the highest power.
Yes, you do. Because you,
I don't even know what you mean by that.
I don't, yeah, but you feel like, you know, like if I'm trying to engage someone through love, I think you think, no, if their political position is this is what's going to overtake and overpower your love. Do I sound like Yeezy this morning?
You sound like Marianne Williamson, but that's okay.
I like her. You don't like Marianne Williamson? I mean, we voted for her, right? So far. Oh.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate here and say that I do understand, because when it comes to a certain point, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I do not like her rhetoric or her policy. In fact, a lot of it's discriminating against us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't like that, but I still think that if we're not careful, we cross the line where we become that which we are in opposition to.
That part.
So
and I noticed that especially with attitudes towards the church in particular, right? Those of us who grew up in some form of organized religion, there does get this, you come to this point of resentment. And sometimes that resentment can manifest and grow into something that you are the very thing that hurt you or that caused you to be disgruntled or feeling like an outcast. And I see that so many times. Like, we have to be careful not to become what not to shake the camera. Like Cindy just like moved my hand out of the way while I was preaching. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? We gotta like be
Don't
careful.
harden your heart, right?
Don't harden your heart, Cindy. That's all I be saying.
My heart's not hardened. Listen, I just there's a lot of stuff that's going on.
Right.
And there's a lot of people. Here's the thing. I'll even leave open the opportunity to say that there are people who are being manipulated by other people and other entities, and they don't even necessarily know that that's what's happening. Right. And I think that happens a lot in Florida. I think that's happened a lot in politics in Florida.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What you hear is basically a lot of people will say, I don't believe in politics. I don't want to get into politics. That's not my thing.
I hate it.
But your boss is into politics. Your landlord is into politics.
Everything is political. That's what we used to tell my brother Chuck on the show. Like, everything is political.
But the partisan, actually, and what people are, it's partisan that people rail against. Right, being political just means that you understand the system and you want things to change. Partisan is picking a side.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going to continue to cruise down the middle and help bring others together. That's what.
And I'm going to keep talking about all the different ways that people are influencing on purpose.
That's a fact. We all got to come together and do this. What you going to continue to do?
I'm going to continue just speaking the truth. And here's the thing. I'm not saying I feel sorry for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not saying
it sounds like you do. You can feel sorry for her. Look, don't you sit up all tall and proud talking about no.
Well, no, I think that Marjorie Taylor has made the bed that she's lying in. However, I also see her humanity, as I try to do in every person I meet, come in contact with, or listen to.
You heard it here first. Sarah's team, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes, she really is. Like, she loves her.
No, I am not.
But what are you gonna continue to? What are you gonna continue to do, Chris?
Man,
we got to declare it here today.
Out the good word as much as I can.
There you go.
Standing up for people.
There you go. Right. Standing up for people. I think that's what we all have in common. We all want to stand up for those who don't have a voice for themselves, who can't seem to do it. They're not smart enough. They're not up listening to the Juice podcast, getting this information so that they can understand what's going on. Matter of fact, just go ahead and like, click, and share.
There you go. And hi, Crystal, our friend.
Hey, Crystal.
Another part of the Big Mouth Media team. Thanks for joining us here this morning. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I like that though. I like that the humanity in the middle. Yeah. But I also don't think
not in the middle.
No, but like there's humanity in
they let me know that I'm by myself in this effort to bring awareness to contempt. Yeah. One of my favorite books, and I've mentioned it before, is called Love Your Enemies by a conservative author, Arthur Brooks, right? And he talks about the political divide and how so many people are yearning, and I mean yearning, for civility and for this middle ground and for these polar extremes to be just can we come together on something? What can we, all this fighting and stuff? And it's ultimately because you look down, you have contempt for other people and their viewpoints.
Right.
And it causes us to check contempt at the door because, you know, they say the number one predictor of divorce. They have researched and said the number one predictor is if you talk to a couple and one or the other has contempt for the other, they are looking down, that relationship is doomed to fail because everything is going to be built on your ideas are stupid, you don't think well enough, you're not thinking things through, you're not thinking about the other, you're not considerate of the other, you're evil if you choose to support this candidate over this candidate. And we have to get to the root of contempt.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Cindy?
interesting. No, I'm processing what you're saying because I'm actually back at your first premise that the majority of people are yearning for civility because I don't think that's true.
You don't know, you haven't done the research that me and Arthur Brooks have.
But I think I have because actually I have done specific research.
We'll get Arthur
that
on
actually
the show
we
and he'll
actually
hash it out.
and think about our elections right now. We're actually polarized because people don't want civility because they're so
No, they've
discontent
just
with
been
what's
forced
going
to
on.
choose between.
No, because if you think about it, actually the Bernie the think about the Bernie to Trump continuum, right? You could say that those folks are ideologically opposed, right, on opposite sides of the spectrum. But there was a significant number of people who went from being Bernie supporters to being Trump supporters. Why? Because they didn't want civility. They were tired of civility. They were tired of the elites going to Washington, D.C. and glad handing each other and the people getting jack shit. So I'm not entirely convinced that civility is what people are looking for.
So what do you think they're looking for? If you had to describe it in one word.
I would say quality of life.
Yes,
There you
because
go.
all of
You
these
can't
things.
take her and see, it's
No,
hard
no, no,
being
I'm
me
not-
in
I'm
this
not
world because
taking
I'm by
her-
myself.
Because I think a lot of this contempt comes from perceived grievances.
Right.
It's perceived grievances, which is amazing to me. I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
just
let's
gonna
get
say
to the
this,
root
that
of
some
these
people have
grievances.
these political grievances, but I will say that what I'm going to come down the middle and say is actually a lot of people act like this polarization is new, and this partisanship is new. It's not.
It is more visible and more partisanship has always existed, but you
Right.
can't tell me after Obama and Trump that we have not seen a different world,
have.
world of politics.
We
That
have.
it can be extreme. You have never seen somebody. We've never seen what we saw on January 6th.
True.
No. But that's because for the first time ever, we had an authoritarian style president.
And
So
see, if Arthur
that's-
Brooks was
that's not really
president,
about
we
the
wouldn't have
partisan.
had that. If he
We've
was,
also seen that fail because he tried it again when this whole arrest thing happened. Now
Right.
he said, "Go out there and protest for me," and
But nobody
basically do
did,
another
right?
January 6th, and nobody did it.
Yeah.
You know,
The one thing I will say about Trump, though, too, going back on that and talking about him going in, cleaning out, draining the swamp. It's ironic that he's the one that's being pulled up on all these corruption charges and things like that because I kept saying, why do people believe this? Trump is the elite. Trump is elite. Like,
so how do y'all feel about Trump saying they're not after me, they're after you?
It's bullshit. It's
That's
a way to reach the base and make them care about what's happening to him.
Right.
Even though frankly it's uniquely his situation. I mean, you can't even
Right.
like really relatively elite white collar criminals couldn't dream of having the network of international crime that Trump is involved
Right.
in. So I just think it's a way for him to say, "Oh, this can happen to you. This is the rollback of your
So
rights."
here's the question of the day: Who is the Democrats gonna who is gonna take it? Who are we gonna put up to go against DeSantis and Trump and all these people?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's going to have to run.
That is who it's
We were
gonna be.
thinking. Do you think Bernie Sanders will come out?
No,
You think he's done for good?
yeah,
President.
I do.
For president.
For president, he is. Yeah.
Bernie Sanders could not have been successful. I mean, even Joe Biden's policies have not been successful because we have a couple of senators who, one now is an independent, we're not progressive enough to push through policy.
Right,
So
right,
if Bernie
right.
Yeah.
Sanders,
Presidents don't make policy.
people would have been so pissed off if Bernie would have gotten elected because everything he said, none of it could have happened. None of it. And as much as people want to talk about Joe Biden has been very successful in getting policy through. And
Right.
that's
Name
because
some of
his
Joe's policies
experience
that he's
in Congress. I mean, that infrastructure
The
bill
American
is
Rescue Plan.
historic. I
Yep.
mean, we haven't seen infrastructure like that. And this is helping places where Flint, Michigan. How many times? How many cities are dealing with water quality issues because
Mississippi,
infrastructure
still
has
Michigan,
exactly.
Flint, Michigan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
So
gonna
shout
take
out to
time.
Joe Biden. You know, y'all can call him Sleepy Joe, but it's okay to get your rest. Joe gets his rest, and you know, shout out to Joe. He's kept his promises.
Yeah, for the
Shout
most part. Well, I mean, he tried to do the student loan amnesty. He actually kept it through COVID and then tried to make it a long-term thing. It's being tried in the courts, right? There was actually the capping of insulin prices. That was through
Yep.
the reconciliation bill. That was a huge move as well. The
Danica up this
Danica's
morning.
jumping in.
instead of just selling his assets, Trump
Yeah.
asked his followers for his legal fees. and
Yeah,
they
he's
have.
getting a
Yeah.
lot of donations right now.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, his energy
That's
was
crazy because
different.
I was asking people for $33 and damn,
I paid.
you did. See,
Yeah,
I
Trump
had
made
some people
$7
come
million in the 3 days surrounding his indictment,
through.
Yeah. Yeah.
and $2 million in the week before when he was teasing it. So 2 weeks before.
Yeah. So he's going to make a lot of money off of this, but you know what? The chips will fall
We're
where
still
they may.
here, and we're still gonna be.
We're still going to talk about it.
speaking out.
There's one thing that before we go, I want to mention because one of the things we didn't mention about Florida is the Senate bill on the abortion ban was passed the other day. The House,
The House passed it. My booty's hurting.
but the House is
You can't
voting-
blame me. I moved my
There's
leg
a-
long time ago.
Like this.
The House will be voting on Monday. So
No, the Senate will be voting on Tuesday, I believe, because Monday's still a holiday.
are we talking about the House bill or the Senate bill? Oh, Monday is a holiday?
The day after Easter.
We love you too, Danica.
Senate is voting, I believe. It'll be early next week. It's been kicked around a few
Right.
times.
Okay, well, there will be. How is Monday a holiday?
Easter Monday. The schools are off.
They
They are?
always coming up with something new.
I know. What's Easter
Says
Monday?
me who don't have any kids and don't know what they do every year. Don't remember what they do, but every year I'm
I don't either.
outraged. Every year I'm outraged.
Do kids have off today? It's Good Friday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, those of us that don't have kids don't know.
All the
what's
same to
going
y'all.
on.
Yeah, we be pissed off. Ain't even got no kids to send to school. We be pissed off. What you mean kids out again today? Damn it. These kids just
You know why? Because when they're out, when you try to go places, there's more people because then parents take off and
Yeah.
you're like,
no,
"Why
I
am
like
going
it because traffic is so much better
It's
when
true.
kids are out of school. So rest, babies. Kids need their rest.
They do too.
They do.
Yeah.
Those kids are getting a run of it.
There's a couple things coming up in Fort Myers that I think we need to let our viewers and listeners
Yeah,
know
the
about.
Dunbar Easter Parade. Shout out to the Easter. Who going to the Easter Parade this year? I might I'm gonna slide out there at some point.
I
Sarah's
know.
supposed to be with me. You coming?
I was gonna come, but I'm actually I'm dog sitting. in
Bring
April.
that dog. We gonna have
Yeah.
dogs out there. You got to get him an outfit though. You can't bring no naked dogs out to the Easter parade. Your dog got to
Louie
be
and
fly.
Rip will be dressed to the
Yeah,
nines.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that's going on. We got Easter, but so coming up on, so we do have a rally
Monday.
here on Monday,
Mhm.
and that is
Occupy.
outside of Jenna Person's.
I'm glad to hear
Office.
everybody's off work because it's an Occupy rally. So we will be out there for 10 hours outside of Jenna Pearson's office in solidarity with those that are occupying Tallahassee right now to resist this abortion ban.
Oh.
And I say resist because it's going through, but we're resisting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that arrest. We didn't get back around to that one.
To Nikki Fried's arrest.
and
Oh, yeah.
Senator Lauren Book.
Yeah.
So what had happened was was it Tuesday?
Girl, I
And
can't
shout
keep
out
the
to
dates
Kat.
straight.
I think Kat
Yeah,
did Kat
Kat.
get
It's her
arrested.
Well, that was her. She organized that.
Wow.
So Kat,
I love
we
Kat.
know Kat because she was down here. She was helping with some of the municipal campaigns in 2020 and had been an advocate for unhoused persons. We know that she's also done sexual assault survivor work and things like that. And she's been an activist around the state now. And so she had actually put together the Occupy tally. It was on 4/3, I believe. So that was, Tuesday.
Yeah,
And they had went into the chambers when the House vote was coming up. And they had then convened afterwards and went to this park area in Tallahassee. And that's where they were joined by Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried and Senate Minority Leader Lauren Book in what was otherwise a peaceful protest. And they were arrested because preemptively the city of Tallahassee closed that park at sundown with the intention of arresting anybody who was there post sundown.
That's shady. So
Yep.
that wasn't a thing before that?
No, it wasn't.
Shady business, Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Shady business.
And so the controversy, so first of all, it created a hell of a lot of energy for Democrats. And we already know that abortion is an issue that is getting Democrats out to the polls. We saw that in several elections, including the election on Tuesday, which was in Wisconsin. So there was a pro-choice Supreme Court justice that was elected by 11 points in Wisconsin, which is like unheard of, by the way.
Right.
That-
And all over the whole
Kansas.
nation is responding because not even Republican constituents like these abortion bans. So
Right.
get a clue here, Republicans, because nationwide you're not doing so great.
Yeah, but they don't care because it's part of an evangelical movement that has been going
Yeah,
on
they
since the
don't
80s with the intention of overturning Roe v. Wade, which they've done now. So they're saving babies on their very minoritarian views. And they don't care that the majority of people disagree with them. That's actually the point.
And what drives me nuts about this whole abortion thing and this whole transgender thing, like they're saying that transgender people are hurting the kids, quote unquote. But I just saw a news story today, I believe it was in Baltimore. They found out one of the higher ups in the church had molested over 600 kids. Like, I think a bunch of the higher ups, they said 600 kids in 80 years, I believe was the news story.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but
Yeah, it was a big
we
uncovering.
won't ever hear about that from the Republican side.
Well, and
But
here's the
they're all
thing.
about saving the children, quote unquote, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just another way to control us, and
The
it
thing
drives me
is,
insane.
is
It really does.
pedophilia,
Yeah.
just like we were talking about mass shooters, it crosses like it's not one particular group that does these things. There are violent people, bad people in every group. You can't categorize whole groups based on
Right.
like calling Democrats pedophile. Or get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
ridiculous.
one more thing about Fort Myers, the Hush documentary is coming back to Fort Myers.
Yeah,
Antoine,
shout
what
out
is
to Antoine. You know, I interviewed Antoine where I had a conversation with Antoine, and unfortunately, that conversation was muffled. The entire conversation. I mean, we was going in on love and spirit.
We did edit
and
that, so you can listen to it.
No,
throw on the
you're gonna
subtitles. You can give it a
struggle.
try. If you want to see some of that, we'll bring
We
him
just
back.
gotta bring him back.
We gotta
That's
bring him
what
back.
it
Come back,
is.
Antoine. He is brilliant.
We gonna
And
have
when
a
is
new
that? When is that
interface.
coming up?
That's next Friday, the 14th.
Hey, shout out to Lee Pitts Live. You know,
Tonight.
we named this show. This show was inspired by Miami got the oranges, Fort Myers got the juice. And so shout out to Lee Pitts. I'll be there at Lee Pitts Live tonight. And so yeah, we're gonna be
What
rocking and
time
rolling.
is it starting tonight?
It starts tonight at 6 p.m. 6 to 11 tonight
At the Post.
Yes, at the Post, American Legion 38, correct? And that's off of
On
Jackson
Jackson.
Street.
And who's where are the dollars going to?
So the dollars tonight, every time Lee Pitts holds a Lee Pitts Live event, there is a nonprofit organization that is the beneficiary. So sometimes they're the sororities and fraternities. And tonight the beneficiary is Darlene and Friends. Shout out to my mother.
Mama D.
My mother. So shout out to my mom and Doc Irvin. We have some exciting news to announce tonight about a drum line coming to Southwest Florida. Drum line. You know, I always wanted to be a percussionist, so this may be my shot at it.
Do
You
it.
know, yeah. I mean, what else am I doing with my life? what else am I doing with my
You're
life?
doing so much. Stop that.
So tonight, that's where we'll be. Sarah and I will be on the door. This is a long day. See, we love you guys.
Yes,
we
we do.
love this community. We love what we do because we get up at 5 a.m. to make sure that we're here at Seed and Bean, delivering you the freshest talk that we have. And then we go all the way into the midnight hour, cleaning up at Lee Pets and dancing the night away. We just do what we do, and we do it for you. So thank you guys for staying connected to us. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Danica. Thank you for everybody else that
And thanks
tuned
for
in.
Chris.
Shout out to Chris joining
Thanks
us
for
this
joining
morning.
us.
You're welcome.
And make sure you swing through Seed and Bean. Even if you don't come join us, come check them out. They're kind enough to host us, and their food, drinks.
They're our
all
official
delicious.
sponsor and our official sponsor.
That's right.
All right.
Wait, drop of the week, real quick. Drop of the week.
You have to have your phone out.
we don't
when
need
do
to play
it.
it. Just tell people to listen.
We'll
to
tell
it.
it, and then we'll.
All right, I really want everybody to check out Lil Wayne's new song. It's got a sample of DMX.
Okay.
Rest in peace. Can't Nobody. Look it up. Great song.
Can't Nobody by Lil Wayne.
Yep.
All right. Can't Nobody. And that's Can't with a K.
That's
Right? Not with a C. So
Yes.
Kant, Nobody by Lil Wayne. All right.
All right, that's a drop of the week. So I've been Dr. Cindy Banyai, along with our co-host
Chantel
Sarah
Rhodes.
Wilson.
and special guest
Christopher Proya.
Christopher Proya, and we'll see you next time on Juice. Be sure to check out all we have at bigmouthmediafl.com and subscribe to keep independent media alive.
Oh yeah.
For this show, it starts at $4.99 a month or $49.99 for the entire year.
The entire
Help us
year?
get a new microphone so we don't have to be sitting on
Please,
each other's
'cause-
laps. Although it's kind of cozy.
Don't worry about it. We finna
But
get a new microphone.
we're
Next
getting
time
it.
We're
I
going to
get
get
paid,
it. But
we
thank
get
you
it.
so much. Subscribe and help support us to give the information to you. Have a great day. We'll see you next
Happy
time
Easter
on
weekend.
Juice.
Bye.
Bye bye.